And then we get Dustin Rhodes and Richard Morton versus Larry Zbyszko and El Gigante. Larry Zbyszko is now calling himself the Cruncher.
It doesn't really seem to...
doesn't
connect with anyone, really.
So bargain basement. It's because he was the person who slammed Barry Windham's wrist in the car at the last pay-per-view that we saw.
That was such a small part of that. Is that why?
Tiny.
The Cruncher.
But Cruncher also sounds like a sort of bootleg figure that you'd get in a pound.
It sounds like a bootleg Rice Krispie cake. Is what it sounds like.
Try our amazing bacon cruncher. We take 2 bits of bacon and stick between marshmallow. Tiring men. And El Gigante's hair here, he's growing it out a bit. He's going for a tufty look.
Again, I enjoyed this match because at one point, El Gigante picks up a man by the neck. It is the best thing I've seen in wrestling.
I've written exactly the same thing. I've said a big plus. El Gigante pulls Zbyszko from the floor into the ring by his head.
And Zbyszko obviously has to jump.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to jump that high.
Yeah.
So he's definitely pulling on his
jumps,
neck.
But Gigante, I think, does have freakish strength. If I was Jim Ross, I would probably mention his height. Rather than, instead of mentioning his height, just constantly going, still has a little problem with the English language. Bothered about his fucking fluency in a foreign language than going, the guy is literally fucking 8 foot tall. Just astonishing.
El Gigante, who still has a little problem with the English language, is
Zbyszko actually has a good match here. He works just really from the start, he's bang on. So Gigante is on the side and Zbyszko just gets on the second rope to lean into his ear to talk. And it really plays up about that thing, him being so much smaller. He wrestles really hard in this match with Dustin Rhodes. Yeah. They were familiar. They had, matches together. And I think Zbyszko's got a slight thing of going, I am getting on a bit. But in my favour, all the young people they're bringing in seem to me to be quite bad at wrestling. So I think he's sort of gone, I will just wrestle my socks off.
Yeah.
And he really does. I mean, Gigante, I think, is in twice for a couple of seconds. Amazingly, the person who does nothing in this is Richard Morton.
Yeah. You'd think he would do something, wouldn't
Richard Morton does one gag bit. So he tags in, and at the same time as Zbyszko tags in El Gigante.
That's
and
right,
Richard Morton walks around and just tags Dustin Rhodes back in. Proper good. Yeah, proper old pro move.
Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes is just like, I will wrestle the whole match against everyone. And Morton doesn't come in again until the finishing move, which is a double drop kick and then a pin on Larry Zbyszko. And I was like, that is an easy night for someone who can fucking go. Made El Gigante work harder than that, which is a bit mad. But Zbyszko, really, working hard. It's what you can see in this again is that Dustin Rhodes is very much first out of the hat. And they put Dustin Rhodes in one sort of like mystery match. They put him against the biggest man there. So what you have is the visual of Dustin Rhodes not ever stepping down, always facing up. He'll take on the giant.
Yeah.
You get a thing where they're both on the same side. They're both goodies. They can never really have a match. Oh, but he's got one. Yeah. And so you've seen Dustin brave enough to take on the giant. Everything about this, having him wrestle the whole match, it smacks a bit of Dusty Rhodes' favourite baby boy.
Okay, yeah.
And again, I've always enjoyed Dustin's work. I love Dusty Rhodes. Put the two together at this time. It's a toxic relationship that I find gross and nepotistic and actually sort of like disgusting and stomach churning.
And also, like, going against El Gigante is problematic because Dustin Rhodes is actually quite statuesque. He's big. He's a big fucker. And he looks tiny next to El Gigante. So you kind of like put him in against some small guys.
I know. I mean, look, it would have been so easy. The other thing about this, which is fucking mental, is if it has been booked, who would be best to go through to a final main event battle royale? It will be the guy who is fucking 7'8" or whatever he is. And instead they're like, but if the chuff between him and Dustin, there is something mad about that if this isn't booked, it's squandered so much talent. If it is booked, it's squandered so much fucking talent. Oh, nice quiet night for Richard Morton. Does one drop kick and a walk around. I mean, it's just astonishing. And at the end, Tony Schiavone decides to sum up. He says, so far, we've had 3 tag team matches.
What is with
cannot bring themselves to say, I enjoyed that. That was good.
Do they pre-write a lot of the stuff because they can't seem to, deviate from the script at all?
I think to be honest,
that was a thing.
Do you know what? To be honest, I think they're fucking horrified. I think like all these companies, when companies start going bad, it doesn't suddenly happen.
Yeah.
And I think they're probably sitting there going, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" And they're like, nobody will know what and I'm sure they're sitting there going, I've worked in this business for a long time. Would it not be a better idea if we pretended that happened? And they'd be like, no, it'll just come out randomly. And you'd be like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God. This is going to be appalling. They struggle because the matches are so bad. You know, that's really the thing. You can only sort of go, that was spectacular so many times when it's shit. And I think they are just sort of going, I am losing the will to live.
But Larry the Cruncher can take a hot shower.
He can take a hot shower, and so far we have had 3 tag team matches.
Match number 4.
Oh,
Bill Kazmaier and Jushin Thunder Liger against Diamond Dallas Page and Mike Graham.
Mike Graham may as well have been the Mike Graham who works for TalkSport. Because he seems to think that night he's just not taking any moves at all.
Nope.
And if he is going to go down, he's going to go down in installments like a goalkeeper. Like, just kind of go, right, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, and I'm down.
Mike Graham is one of the single, I'd say, most selfish performances a man has ever made on a pay-per-view. This is his one and only pay-per-view appearance.
Right.
He looks in this like he's easily in his mid-50s. He can wrestle. Mike Graham can wrestle.
Right.
He was the son of a famous wrestler from the 50s and 60s called Eddie Graham.
Yeah.
Big star.
Yeah.
And Eddie Graham ran championship wrestling from Florida. And Eddie Graham became one of those early people who gave their son a job and pushed them beyond their ability. That son being Mike.
Yeah.
He was never a big star. He wrestled in Florida. He had brief spells in the AWA and things. But he really did suffer from comparison to his father, who was a huge star. Perfectly technically competent. Why was he on this show, Pete? You might be wondering. Because in 1989, he returned to Florida Championship Wrestling, which was being run by Dusty Rhodes. And he had a brief tag team partnership with Dustin. Rhodes ran Florida. Obviously, Eddie Graham had run it before him. I think there was a sense of, we are all from the same era, the same thing. And so this is a favour. He said, Matt Graham, I'll put you on WCW. You get to go on STARRCADE, baby.
Yeah.
And out comes Mike Graham. He would later at this period become a producer backstage for WCW. Obviously a talented guy, but he goes into this. You've got Jushin Thunder fucking Liger, right? Now, Jushin Thunder Liger, Japanese light heavyweight wrestler. He is debuted in about 89. He is starting to make huge waves internationally because he is revolutionizing the business.
Yeah.
He is the most exciting import wrestler that's pretty much ever been in the mainstream world of WCW and WWE during the 80s and 90s.
Imagine what he's thinking. He's going, well, what is happening here?
Just mental. He comes with this astonishing sort of impetus, and you're put against an old man who is stuffing all your moves. You're with Bill Kazmaier, and you're just like, well, what can I do? His other opponent is Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page's debut pay-per-view. He's never been in the ring on a pay-per-view before, and it's such a fucking mess. This is the first time most people in America will see Jushin Liger perform.
Yeah.
So on Christmas night, he's won the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship from Brian Pillman. Let me make this clear, they've got everyone out on Christmas Day, an untelevised, unfilmed a WCW house show.
Oh, no.
They changed the belt. It's the first time that belt has changed since Brian Pillman won it at Halloween Havoc. Nobody thought to film it. They've got Jushin Liger in from Japan, not bothering. So they bring Jushin Liger here and they're like, oh yeah, he won the belt from Brian on Christmas Day. Let's see what he's got. No, because Mike Graham is there to fucking start squashing him. So start Mike Graham doing his moves. And you can see that Mike Graham is like, if I make this guy look like shit, they will probably call me in Japan and say, would you like to come and be our hero and star? I am 59, but I've got the moves. And it is just, you could not have put Jushin Liger with 3 worse people to showcase his skills than DDP, Bill Kazmaier, and Mike Graham, for the sole fact that Mike Graham refuses to let him do anything. It's so bad. Oh, my God.
Oh, dear.
Jim Ross says there's a great contrast in styles between Liger and his partner. But yes, because Jushin Liger reinvented wrestling from 89 to 93, and Bill Kazmaier shite. Absolutely shit. Oh, God, Liger does a head scissors on Graham. He thinks, he probably understood this move. No, not at all.
No.
Graham jars his own neck landing on his head. And you do slightly get the impression that Liger is just going, I've given him enough chances now.
Yeah, I'm going to hurt him.
I'm going to start kicking him really hard, which he does. There's a bit where Liger does a spinning heel kick and Mike Graham is coming off the ropes and he just decides to stop. And Liger just goes splat on the floor. And I think that's the moment where Liger is like, okay, given you some chances, you are now acting like a fucking prick. And so from now on, everything's going to be very, very close.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dominate you. Oddly, there's a bit like much later on where Liger actually sort of gets himself into a position for a pin from Mike Graham. I was thinking, don't fucking help him. You've given him chances.
Yeah.
Just kick his jaw off. Just teach him a fucking lesson. It's very strange to see Jushin Liger having a match in DDP's rookie year against DDP. I mean, what must Liger have made of all of this? What must he have made? 5-star classic.
Through his shit.
For 25 minutes. And he's sitting there just going, who are these people? And they go, well, this is DDP. He's been doing it for a year. This is Mike Graham. He's been doing it since 1690. Knock yourself out. Fucking terrible.
It's like a house party, like 1 a.m.
Really
on
is.
the estate, and you go, oh, it's Dave. He turned up with the gear. And it's like, oh, God, I got to hang out with you two.
He's put a fucking kid's pyjamas on. He's put it over his head. He's going to attack you. He's going to run at you. He's going to jump off the fucking thing. It's going to be brilliant. I'm the strongest man in the world. Bam! Mercy in the USA. I'm Mike Graham. What a nightmarish party.
It's a lethal lottery, Mark.
They also end it with Bill Kazmaier throwing Jushin Liger onto DDP for the pin. If Mike Graham had kicked out of one, carry on. In fact, Mike Graham fucking does do that. There's a bit where he's being pinned and Diamond Dallas Page comes in to break up the pin. But Mike is like, I'm kicking out of one anyway. even though Page is there. Just to go, see, never had me. Never had me. It's mental. DDP gets pinned when they chuck Liger onto him. Again, that's a pin that is not going, here is the greatest junior heavyweight of his era.
Yeah.
Doing a move. You're going, here's Bill Kazmaier throwing a little
throwing
man
throwing
a little man at a man.
Yeah.
Because he's so strong. Really, really disappointing. What a shithole. And then they just have a lovely, lovely line that, let's go out on this perfect piece of WCW thought, is they have the line for the next pase-per-view comes up.
Yes.
An event of such magnitude, it can only be called Super Brawl 2.
Baseball has the World Series. Football has the Super Bowl. Professional wrestling has an event of such magnitude, it could only be called Super Brawl 2.
There's two of them. Oh, God.
First star you see, who's front and centre in this exciting, magnificent pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Jimmy Jam fucking Garvin. Wonderful. Well played, WCW. Well played.
Oh, Mark.